Hello everyone. Alright, for this lesson I'll show you different formulas and how to solve for a specific variable in a formula. Alright, so let's first define what a formula is. A formula is basically an equation, so we know we're going to have the equal sign, that states the relationship among quantities. Alright, so that's basically what a formula is. So let's take a look at an example. Let's say we have D is equal to RT. Okay, so D is the distance, right? So this is a formula, right? D represents the distance, and the R is the average speed, and the T is the time. Okay, so we can start off with that formula, right? D equals R times T, right? And we can solve for, let's say I ask you to solve for T. Alright, so we want to solve for T. How would we do that? Alright, here all we have to do is divide both sides by R, right? So when you do that, this R and this R, they cancel, and you're left with that T on the right hand side, and you have D over R on the left, right? So we solve for T essentially, okay? Alright, so now let's take that same formula, and let's say I want to solve for R instead. I want to find the average speed, right? So let's write that formula one more time, right? But this time I want to solve for the average speed. So I want to get R by itself, right? So I would divide both sides by T, right? The reason is now this T and this T, they cancel, and you're left with the R on the right hand side and D over T on the left. So you essentially solve for the average speed. Okay? Alright, let's go back to our formula. D equals R times T, right? Which refers to the distance equals the average speed times the time, right? Let's say we have this guy, right? Give him some hair, and he's running at a speed or average speed of 7 miles per hour, right? And let's say he ran for 2 hours, okay? And I want to find distance. So the question is, what is D, right? So we use our handy formula here, right? Distance equals rate times T, and we'll just plug it in, right? So D is equal to 7, that's what the average speed is, and T is just 2, so we multiply the two numbers, we're gonna get 14 miles. Right? So this guy here, in 2 hours, he'll run 14 miles. Okay? Alright, let's take a look at the formula one more time. Right? But this time, let's try to find what the average speed is given the distance and time. Alright, let's say we have this funky looking creature. Alright, and this creature traveled for 10 miles, and we know he did that, in 2 hours. Okay, so we know the d and t, the distance and time. So we want to find, we want the average speed, right? Or in this case, what the r is, right? So let's rewrite our formula one more time down here. D equals r times t. Okay, so I want to solve for the letter r to get r by itself, right? So we're going to divide both sides by t. Okay, so after I do that, this t and this t, they cancel, so you're left with d over t on the left, and it's equal to the average speed, right? So now I'm just going to rearrange it here. R equals d over t. Okay, alright, so specifically looking at the example we have here, we can actually plug in what d is and what t is and find the average speed for this creature, right? So let's figure it out. So here we go. We know d is just 10, so let's plug that in. 10 miles. And the time is 2 hours. Right? So what is the average speed for this creature? It's going to be 10 divided by 2, which is 5. So 5 miles per hour. Right? So that's the average speed for this animal. Okay? And we're done. And we're happy. Alright, let's take a look at another formula you will see in science classes, which is F equals 9 over 5 C plus 32. Okay, so this is degrees conversion, right? F is the Fahrenheit and C is the Celsius. So if you know what the Celsius is, you can convert it to Fahrenheit, and vice versa. Alright, so now let's say I want to solve for C, right? The degrees Celsius. So we have to manipulate this formula. I want to get C by itself, right? Because this one is F equals 9/5 C plus 32, but now I want to put C on the left hand side, right? So now to do that, so let's rewrite the formula over here, right? So the first step would be to minus 32 to both sides. Okay, so let's rewrite that one more time here. F minus 32 is equal to 9 over 5C, right? Because the plus 32 and minus 32, they disappear, right? They cancel. Now the next step is to divide both sides by 9 over 5, but when you're dividing by a fraction, it's the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. Okay, so let's just multiply by the reciprocal, and the reciprocal of 9 over 5 is just 5 over 9, right? And this is an equation, so we know that if you want to do something to one side, you have to do the exact same thing to the other side, right? Make sure I put parentheses around the F minus 32, and I'm going to multiply that by 5 over 9, right? So this one, this 5 and this 5, they cancel, and it's 9 over 9, that's just, it goes to 1, right? So now we can write this as C on the right, right? And it's going to be 5 over 9 in parentheses F minus 32, right? So I can rewrite that as C equals 5/9 in parentheses F minus 32. So we solve for C, right? Now if you know what the Fahrenheit is, the temperature in Fahrenheit, you can plug it into this formula and you will get the degrees in Celsius, right? And we're done. Alright, let's take a look at another common one you'll see often, right? C equals 2 pi times the radius. Okay, so you'll see this later, but this is the circumference of a circle is equal to 2 times the pi times the radius of that circle, right? And now let's say we want to find we want to solve for the radius. Okay, how would we do that? Alright, so we have to, let's rewrite the formula again. Okay, so now there's only one step to do, right? If we divide both sides by 2 pi, right, what would happen here? Well, let's see. Well, we have this 2 and this 2, they cancel, right? They go to 1. Same thing with the pi over pi. So you're left with, oops, you're left with the radius on the right and c over 2 pi on the left. You can put parentheses around here if you like. Right? So let's write it a little bit nicer. The radius is given or equal to the circumference of the circle divided by 2 pi. Okay, so we essentially solve for the radius and put it in terms of the circumference. Okay, and we're done.